Alright, let's look at the multiplication and division of complex numbers. Alright, so let's say we have Z1 and Z2, and those are complex numbers. Alright, and in order to understand how the multiplication and the division work, we're gonna use the exponential form. So I'm going to write Z1 as R1 times e to the I theta 1. Right? This is just the exponential form of a Z1. And of course Z2 is going to be R2 e to the I theta 2. Alright? Then, so we just look at the multiplication. So let's say 1. Right. So let's multiply Z1 and Z2 together. Right. So then we can see that Z1 is R1 e to the I theta 1, and Z2 is R2 e to the I theta 2. Right? Then we can multiply the R1 and R2 together. So I'm going to put these guys together, R1 times R2. And then we can put these exponential together. So you can see that this is going to be e to the, alright, so multiplication between exponential function, it's going to be addition between powers. So I'm gonna so I theta 1 plus I theta 2, since both of them has I in it, so I'm gonna write it as theta I times quantity theta 1 plus theta 2. Alright, so note that so if you're looking at the say absolute value of Z1 times Z2, okay, which is going to be, you can see that here, this tells you the absolute value of Z1 times Z2. So you're going to get the R1 times R2. And if you look at the angle, so say if you want to know, oh actually maybe I should write it this way. Right, which is maybe I should write it R1, so which is exactly the same thing as absolute value of Z1 times absolute value of Z2. Right, and if you look at the angle, so I'm going to use this notation, angle of say Z1 and Z2. Right. And you can see that the angle shows up right here. Right? So this is going to be just theta 1 plus theta 2. So it's actually an addition between angles. So this is going to be the same thing as angle of Z1 plus angle of Z2. Right? So this is how the multiplication behaves, Z1 times Z2. Right? So let's look at the division. So 2. So how about Z1 divided by Z2? Alright, so we have Z1 is same thing as R1 e to the I theta 1 divided by R2 e to the I theta 2. Alright, so we can combine R1 and R2, so you have a R1 over R2. Right, that's going to be the absolute value of Z1 over Z2. Then you have the division. So we do the subtraction between these powers. So it's going to be i's pulled out. It's a theta 1 minus theta 2. Right? So we can see that if you want to find the absolute value of Z1 and the Z2, we actually notice from the property of absolute value, but we can see that this is going to be R1 over R2 because it shows up right here. All right, so which is the same thing as the absolute value of Z1 divided by absolute value of Z2. All right, how about the angle? All right, angle of Z1 over Z2. Right, so you can see that if you have a division, it turns into a subtraction. So it's a theta 1 minus theta 2, which is the same thing as an angle of Z1 minus angle of Z2. Right? So this is how the multiplication and division of complex number work. All right, that's it. I hope that this was clear.